BookTube, welcome back to my channel and welcome to A Closer Book. This is a series where I talk about 3 of my recent reads. There are some books left over from 2017, but in the interest of completeness, I'm still sharing them. Hopefully you're not just here to watch me or hear me talk about 2018 books, because then you're not going to like this video. But these are 3 books that I read and enjoyed to some extent in 2017, so I want to share them. First up is The Loras by Sara Taylor. Alex's mom leaves home in the middle of the night, taking 13-year-old Alex with her. What starts off as a reaction to a domestic dispute becomes an extended road trip and series of relocations that takes the mother and child from Virginia to Florida and then across the country. Things to know about this novel. The book is essential to the memory of a road trip, and the reader is like a backseat passenger in the car, someone who's been picked up and is eavesdropping on the conversation to learn about the other 2 people in the car. The narrator, Alex, is grateful for the opportunity to appear androgynous, and so while it is never revealed whether Alex is genetically male or female, there is discussion about the desire to exist outside of the standard gender identification. However, while we don't know Alex's gender, there's a fair bit of attraction and curiosity for both genders, and there's even a sexual assault that is graphically described in this novel. The novel is also told in split view from the perspective of teenaged Alex, but as it is being remembered by adult Alex. This means that the language is not consistent with the way a teenager might speak, but at times is limited to the things that a teenager might see and the way they might understand. The book is called The Loras because as the novel progresses and they make their way across the country, Alex's mother recounts the tales of her own childhood in foster care, in shelters, and college, and all the girls who made an impact on her life, and they're all called Laura. When Alex asks if it's a coincidence that they all share the same name, or if she's deliberately compacting them to make them one person, she does offer an explanation. And the choice of title means that while we read about a mother and child, the focus of the book always seems outwards, as the duo seem to react to other people's actions instead of being the protagonist one expects to either love or hate in this kind of novel. Several of Ma's choices, both in her youth and as the mother of a teenage child, left me gaping open-mouthed, but this complex story came to a good resolution by showing how even the most nomadic of us are often running towards something, even if that target changes as soon as you reach it. Next, I read Heartless by Marissa Meyer. Heartless is a kind of loose adaptation of the story in Queen of Hearts, which is the follow-up to Alice in Wonderland. In this story, Catherine is the daughter of a marquis, and her mother has ambitions for Catherine to marry the king and become the Queen of Hearts. So there's a white party, and her mother dresses her in a red gown to get the king's attention. But just at the point when the king is about to propose, Catherine runs away. You see, Catherine doesn't want to marry anyone, least of all the king. Instead, she has her heart set on becoming a baker, and she knows that if she's queen, she can't have her heart's desire. Yes, there are a lot of puns in this description, but that's because the book is filled with them. When Catherine runs away from the party, the Joker follows her. So the joke is on you, Catherine. His name is Jess, and although he is supposed to be working for the king to woo Catherine, Jess and Catherine fall for each other. And Catherine still has a decision to make. Will she abandon her entrepreneurial ambitions and marry one of these men? And if so, which one? What I liked about the book: the author used clever wordplay to make the book magical and whimsical. She incorporates other recognizable literary references like the raven from Edgar Allan Poe's poems and characters from other nursery rhymes and fairy tales. What I didn't like about the book: some of the situations that the characters endured in the course of the novel were pretty violent. This was probably the author's way of forcing the reader to visualize nursery rhymes in real-life settings, but it was still pretty graphic to read about in this kind of novel. I found the ending to be rather unfulfilling and not worth the emotional distance that we had to travel to get there. Overall, however, I had low expectations going in, not because I thought the book was bad, but because I don't really enjoy fantasy stories. But this one had much more literary quality than I expected, so I gave it a 3-star rating. The Bees by Laline Paull is a dystopic novel where the characters are a colony of bees whose hive is on a property that is being sold. The main character is Flora, 717, a newly hatched bee whose kin dictates that she should be a sanitation worker, whose job in the hive is usually to remove the bodies of dead worker bees. However, when Flora emerges from her egg, she has a deformity. At once, this deformity is a disability and an extraordinary ability. Flora doesn't look like the rest of her kin, and she can speak. The strict code of the hive means that Flora should be killed immediately, but she is spared, probably for curiosity. But as she is allowed to experience different parts of the hive, she becomes more and more useful, doing things she shouldn't be allowed, but also learning things that she shouldn't know and probably wouldn't have had the opportunity to know. And eventually, this knowledge is the thing that both threatens Flora's existence, but also has the potential to save the entire hive. What I liked about the story, while fantasy and dystopia are not my favorite things to read, the sheer novelty of this one kept me reading. I also like the fact that a character who was considered disabled and who was discriminated against was the heroine of the story. What I didn't like about the novel, the author copied phrases from religious texts in order to prove the unthinking attitudes of the servile bees, and I didn't appreciate that as an attitude toward religion. Like, she used a line from the Lord's Prayer and changed just a couple of words, but not so much that it wasn't noticeable. And then had the bees chanted in order to work themselves up to do things automatically, which felt like the author's attitude toward religion as a whole. I understand that this is a part of dystopia, but I wish the author had found another way to accomplish it in a book like this. Also, while the book was mostly about females, and bees have very female-dominated cultures, I didn't like the way males were talked about when they were mentioned. And I don't think that that is necessary in a book that is supposed to be empowering to females, that we have to talk badly about men in order to do that. So overall, I gave this 3 stars because it was okay, but I didn't love it. And that's it. That's a closer book at these 3 recent reads. Leave me a comment down below if you've read any of these books and you want to talk about them. So until next time, happy reading. Bye!